Hi, Emma. Welcome to the podcast. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell people what you're all about? Because I am desperate to get into this conversation about awards, but tell people who you are, what you do.
Hi, Tamsin. Thank you for having me. I'm Emma Hewitt. I'm a business awards advisor. So I work with small businesses to help them elevate their business through awards. This gives them visibility, credibility, and opens opportunities for them.
And we met because I was running an event that had awards attached to it, and one of your clients won one of my awards, right?
That's right. Yeah, that was a great result for her. We worked together to build a bank of answers. So she was able to use those to enter a few awards last year, and she won two sort of within 2 weeks of each other. So it's a great result.
Yeah, brilliant. And when I was running the event, the conference that I was running last year, I was really shocked by how many women were like not jumping on that opportunity, that were saying like, "Oh no, haven't really done anything." Like, what do you say? Like, talk me through that because that's common, right? We've had this conversation about women holding themselves back. Why do you think we do that? Like, why not use awards?
Yeah, I think it's probably the biggest barrier to entering awards is the lack of confidence, and sometimes it's not a genuine lack of confidence. It's the ick over how it'll be perceived. That sort of feeling of it's not something you do. You don't really blow your own trumpet in that way. By entering an award, you're sort of saying, I think I'm good and look at me, and people will look on that badly. But in actual fact, people will look on it really favourably because it's demonstrating a confidence in yourself and your own business. And it's inspiring others to do it as well. To me, entering awards is a marketing masterstroke. It makes absolute sense. It's a way of giving your business instant visibility and credibility. So why wouldn't you? So yeah, it's definitely something to overcome and not let that hold you back.
Yeah, definitely. Does it work for every business though? Like, is it like if somebody's listening to this and they're thinking, well, I don't think awards is really going to work for my business. Is it an every business thing? Or is there certain businesses that it suits better?
I think it can work for every business as long as you choose the right awards and you use them to their max. So if you're just entering an award in a reactionary way, which is what people typically do, they'll see it in someone else's news feed and think, oh, I'll quickly enter that at the last minute. And then they don't really do anything else. They send off an entry and they just sit and wait to see if there's an outcome from that. And for a lot of people, the outcome is very black and white. It's yes or no, I've been shortlisted, or I win or lose, and that's it. But I think if you're strategic and thoughtful about the awards that you're entering, you can use them regardless of the outcome. So I think it can work for any business if you're putting yourself up for the right award and then you're using the process. So by that I mean telling people that you've entered, talking about why you entered. So using some of the things that you put in your entry form to showcase yourself to your audience in the meantime, and then engaging in the process. So actually connecting with the award organisers, sponsors, judges, things like that, because that's giving you instant visibility to their audiences as well.
And again, this is about visibility. This is about putting ourselves out there. And I think, and you're often, and it's not just women, but obviously I work with women who are, struggling with that and struggling to like be the face of their business and helping them to see the value of like putting their face in pictures and on posts and having their actual face in it and getting on video and being really confident to just talk about the things that we do. But it's not really typical of like, it does feel odd, doesn't it? Like, and when I was doing my video course, I was talking about how it is really weird to go and do all these things like make reels and make content and put ourselves out there and talk about these things so openly because this is new. This is things that we didn't watch our parents doing. This is like, obviously awards have been around for a long time, but it feels odd, and I don't think we've ever really got that comfortable with that stuff.
No, I think it is. But then I think that's where your growth comes, isn't it? Out of your comfort zone. So yes, awards are a big step out of comfort zone for the majority of people. But then I think if you have the right attitude towards it and you have some support with it as well, get some people on board who are your cheerleaders and support you actually entering awards, then, it's really worthwhile. But absolutely, it's not something that we've grown up and been encouraged to do.
Yeah, no, but we are as kids. Like my kids will come home from school with like, elephant of the week or whatever class they're in, and it'll have that thing. And my daughter constantly says to me, "Right, this week I am working towards silver learner because that's like the thing." Or she'll like, I'm working towards penguin of the day. She's like, every day she's psyching herself up to be like, right, I'm going to do this and I'm going to be this good. I'm going to put my hand up and I'm going to do all that stuff. And like, I hope that lasts, but I don't think it will into secondary school. But currently that is like her life's goal, is to just win these like almost like mini awards, isn't it, for kids?
Yeah.
And she's not ashamed of wanting that really, really badly. I worry about the kind of effect it has on her, like last week when she was determined. She was absolutely convinced she'd have got it. She'd answered all the right questions, she'd done all the right things, she ticked all the boxes, and she didn't win and she didn't get it, and she felt really low. And I want to talk about that because I know that I've watched that happen, and I know sometimes when people get runner up or they don't place at all, and they've put in all that effort, they've done all the stuff, and they've gone to the event, and usually there is a cost to traveling, there is a cost to attending the event. There's a cost in getting something nice to wear because you want to make sure, especially if it's an evening one. We did a day one, but still people want to like feel good, because and you're thinking about like, oh, if I do get it, like, am I going to say anything, like what's my all of those things, you've got all this stuff going through in your head, and you have to almost prepare yourself to win. But what is your advice to people who maybe just don't get it that time, like, because I think there's lots of opportunity there.
Oh yeah, there definitely is. And it goes back to what I was saying about how you choose the awards and how you use the whole process, that you've got to look at that event as part of the process and be happy that if you've rinsed it for all it's worth throughout the time from when you entered. So you've had that nominee badge everywhere, you've had a finalist badge everywhere. Up until the day of the event, you will have had as much or possibly more coverage than the person who's about to win. So you can control that yourself by how you engage. And then on the day, I think you've got to just treat it like you are a winner, in as much as own the room, get round the room, meet people, network, get the marketing assets. If you're in that room as someone that's been nominated or been shortlisted, then you deserve to be there, and you've got to own that. Get your photos, get your videos, get involved. And okay, yeah, it's disappointing if you don't win, but you were there and you tried, and that's further than most people get. And I think that's really important for people to realise. And the way that the awards work, it's not that you're not good enough to win. You're up against the best people in your sector, or other people that offer award-winning level services, whatever that is which category you've chosen. You're putting yourself in the mix with them. So to come runner-up or to come, top 5 as a finalist is a huge success. And it's enough to get you the visibility and the credibility without actually taking home the glassware. It's it's about how you use it. But I think if you can feel comfortable in the level of engagement you've had throughout the process, then investing in that, when it is an investment, investing in attending that award doesn't feel so much like it just hinges on winning a trophy.
Yeah, because there's lots of networking opportunities. There's all the PR opportunities that you're talking about. And again, I think wanting to touch on what you said there about, if you start the process, like the second that you nominate yourself, and if you own that and you're really using that in your LinkedIn, in your Instagram, wherever you hang out, wherever you kind of share that information, whether you're working for a company, whether you're working for yourself, getting that out there will be like, you're having, like you say, as much visibility as anybody else, right up until the point where the decision is made. And I've never been a judge for awards, but obviously have had judges on ours, and I think there's this, perception that I don't know. I don't know what the perception is, but I think unless you've been a judge, I've seen the agony they go through, and they've gone back to me and gone, "Oh, I can't make a decision. Can you help?" And of course I can't. Like, I couldn't help. I'm not actually doing the conferences and awards anymore, but I wasn't able to influence it at all, because it that would not have been the right thing to do. So having to leave them in this agonizing decision making process, and it's so hard. But I've also seen where the judge's life is made easy, and that's when people have nominated themselves or someone else has nominated them, and they've just put "because she's great" or left it blank, because unless the form forces you to write in the box, which the one we were using didn't, you could then, this is just instantly, there's no information, and there's nothing for the judges to go on. It's almost like you've got to make their job easier, right? You've got to kind of give them something to go on.
Yeah.
So when people do it last minute, is that what's happening there? Are people just kind of putting their name in the ring and just hoping for the best? Or
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it does you any favours at all to rush an award entry. And again, it goes back to being strategic about the ones that you're choosing. If you're choosing them because they're the most useful to you, you can map them out, you can get them in your diary, allow yourself time to get the entry written, make sure that you're available for any interviews, make sure you're available for the event, and just be choosy. It's better to go for fewer of them and do them properly. Because when you write an award entry, it's a skill. It's like anything else. You can learn it. It's not even necessarily about how well written it is. Like you say, it's about making it easy for the judge to give you marks. So they can only go by what's on the paper, a little bit like an exam or an job interview. They can only give you points for what you put on the page. They're not going to go away and do extensive research about you. They're not going to go, "Oh, I'm sure she's done more than this. I'll go and have a deep dive on her LinkedIn or a website." You've got to tell them. So the answers need to be tailored to the question, and they need to give very specific examples of that, and then have the evidence weaved in. So you're answering the question by giving a real life example and then add in some evidence. So that could be some metrics, or it could be a quote from a testimonial. And they can just instantly say, "Oh yeah, they've done that. Tick, tick, tick. There are the points." And that's what it comes down to. And often the difference between first and second place, or even first and fifth, could be a couple of points.
yeah,
They're using a scoring matrix. That's how it is. And it's not personal. Like you say, agony is the perfect word for judging. It's so hard, because sometimes it could be like half a point in it. So the points really count. So the easier you make it for them to award those points, the better.
yeah, that's really interesting. And I think, there are a lot of awards are done differently, but generally speaking, like the judging part of it is done the same.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few exceptions to that, and I know we've talked about this before, and I think this is where I love what you do, because if I came to you and said, "Look, I want to start putting myself out there for some awards, it's time people recognize my utter brilliance. I want you to help me and know which ones to do." That's what I loved about our first conversation when I just discovered you through Mandy, who won the Woman of the Year award at mine, was that these awards inside out, like the process, how much it's going to cost people, like what they're going to have to do as part, all of the steps. Like, that is amazing. I love that, because I've done it. I've applied for a podcast award ago. I'm just like admit it, years ago, when I had my old podcast with my co-host Gillian, and I was like so confident, because we were such a unique podcast, and it was a bit, independent podcast. So I was like, "Oh, it's fine. Like, we'll be, not swimming in the big kind of Mel Robbins and all that kind of pool. It'll be fine." And I paid to enter, and I didn't get shortlisted at all. And it was a very small fee, but it's not the point. I've never got over it. Because I didn't understand the process very well. And I think there was a part of me that thought in my head, if I've paid for it, they're bound to put us in. It just did not work like that at all.
Yeah, although some do. So some awards do have a guaranteed outcome if you pay. So yeah, I think that's an area that can trip people up a little bit, and it's also something that can act as another barrier, is that uncertainty about which awards are legit and which awards are not so much. And the thing you said about like not getting over it, I know people that have said, I'm never entering that award again because I didn't win it. And it's like, no, every year it's a new award. Every year it's a completely different panel of judges. You're different because you've got an extra year's worth of evidence to give them. And you're in a different place in your business a year on. So, yeah, it's really, it really worrying when I hear people say that, but it's quite often a reaction. It's like, well, I've tried that one before and I didn't get anywhere, so there's no point in entering that one again. Every year is a fresh competition.
Is that shame though? Is that shame because we've put ourselves out there, we've splashed it all over LinkedIn, like maybe there's a voting round involved as well, which I always find hard for people because I think there's a perception that that's going to help, but in my case when we were doing ours, it didn't. It was helpful for the judges to get more evidence, but what your voters do is not help you at all and go, she's just great, I've loved working with her, and they don't actually link it to the award you put yourself forward for because they don't understand the process, they don't understand the award you're up for and the criteria or what is needed, and that's very hard. But I think when we've really like owned it and we've really announced it and gone, I'm up for this award and, yada, 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 which I did with the podcast, we had a little Instagram following. I think it's still there actually. And, shouting about it on there, like, oh my God, this is really exciting. I hope we get shortlisted. And they're not. It's like such an anticlimax. And I think there's so much shame we carry about trying and ultimately what we perceive as failing.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that's maybe some of it. Do you think that's what's happening?
I think so. But then I think that's like in every aspect of running a business, because the way to grow your audience and to boost your visibility is to share your story as it's unfolding, isn't it really? And there's going to be wins and there's going to be, losses. And if you take that view, then you wouldn't share anything about what you're doing. You wouldn't talk about any aspect of your business or service in case somebody left a bad review at some point, or it didn't work for someone, or you tried it and you had to refine it and offer something different. So it's a similar thing really. So it's very self-limiting to not share it. It's part of the story. And I think you just put the spin on it. I mean, first and foremost, who's really going to track it? You have to be an absolute super fan to remember, because it's such a long process as well with awards. It could be like nearly 6 months later, the event. So how many of your fans in your audience are going to remember that you were up for the award in the first place? And if they do, then that's great because you've got super fans. So they're not going to really be like tracking it and think, she didn't even win that. I think you talk about, okay, I didn't win, but this is what I got from the process. And I love it when people talk honestly like that, because I think when you share that reflection, okay, I didn't win a trophy, but it was such a rewarding process taking part because I got X, Y, Z. That's really inspiring to other business owners, particularly women who are in the ick stage of I can't possibly self-nominate. If they see someone else doing that and being honest and sharing it. I applied for 2 awards last year and I was shortlisted for both of them. I didn't win either of them, but they were absolute game changers. They were what cemented this idea that I'm doing now. The feeling I had on the day of being there as a finalist, I wanted to be able to bottle it and give it to people. And that's basically the crux of my business. And
I love that. That's actually like why you do what you do, because you wanted to bottle that feeling and share it. Because, when we were talking just before we came on, like about the confidence boost that gives you. And I think that's where we need to maybe be careful that the not winning doesn't crash that confidence boost, staying in that kind of energy and using that as, like say, this is what I've learned, or this is the experience I had, or I had a great time. And I've seen people do it brilliantly where they've gone, no win for me tonight, but my God, I had a blast and I had a really good time at the event. And because it's awards are more than just the award. They are a whole entire event where you get to showcase yourself, your business, your brand, whatever you do, and meet other people in your industry, see what's going on. There's usually more to the event than just awards. There's usually like speakers, or there's something else. There's a lot more to be gained, right, from going to these things.
Oh yeah, so much. And they're people that you might not have crossed paths with for any other reason. So it's a unique opportunity to like meet people and expand your network. And you don't know who you're going to be sitting with. I mean, people, end up collaborating with someone that they met at an event like that. I found my business coach there. I'm in a mastermind group, which is absolutely vital to me at the moment as a relatively new business owner. And I met her at an awards table. I would never have crossed paths with her otherwise. So it's about how you use it. I think if you're at an awards ceremony, you're in a room of like-minded people. Most of them are probably feeling exactly the same as you about, I'm not sure I should be here. But if you actually get over that and mix and talk to people, you're going to make really good connections.
Yeah, that's really true. Like again, yeah, collaborations and finding somebody that you want to work with or somebody who wants to work with you. Like that's a win in itself, even if you don't get the trophy. But I also think like people are getting to know you and your business and what you stand for on a deeper level than we do when we're scrolling. And I think I wanted to sort of use LinkedIn as an example because LinkedIn is probably the only place outside of blogging that I see that people can write longer posts and get a lot of engagement. Whereas the other apps that we use, social media apps, are very kind of, video based scrolling kind of, they've got, I noticed on Instagram, my videos, if they're any more than 4 seconds long, it's not happening. And I just think 4 seconds, really? Like, is that really people's attention span? And I think unless you're really well known, that you don't get people sticking around for too much longer. But there's obviously a skill to that before anyone writes in and tells people. Send me emails daily going, oh, I see your Instagram needs some help. I'm like, go away, it's fine. I don't need all the tips and tricks. Where was I? But yeah, like people get to really see you on a deeper level. And I think even with LinkedIn, where we can really kind of dive deep into a story, you've got to assume that somebody can have the time to listen to that, sit there and read that and engage with it. And often people are really often engaging because of what's in it for them, because they can showcase their expertise. I mean, how many of us have done a post and had somebody sort of, almost selling their own services on our own posts? And I really hate that, but it happens. And I think the people, even if they're engaging with the stuff, like people want to listen and hear your stories, and human connection is so good. So when you actually go to these events, it's so much more than walking away with that trophy, so much more.
Oh yeah, it really is. And like you say, it is that telling the story on a deeper level. And it's also for yourself, because I think when you write an award entry, you're reviewing your own achievements in a completely different way to any other sort of business review that you do. Because it's not just about metrics and it's not just about growth and measuring. So it's about you as an individual as well and your development. And it's an important process, because if you're working on your own, you don't have someone giving you an appraisal. I mean, appraisals are good and bad, aren't they? Yeah. Some of them are tick box exercises, even if you've got that in place. But you're doing a self-appraisal, and I think you dig up stuff that you might have forgotten, because I think we just live life week to week. We very rarely actually sit and take stock. It's always about what we want to do next, or what we haven't done, what we want to do. And actually, when you just sit and look at what you have done, and you think, okay, if I could speak to me 6 months ago or a year ago, she would have been so proud, so delighted to think that we're going to get this far. But in the moment, it's just something you've done. It's not well anymore, even though it was your life's goal like 12 months before. So that's a really important process in itself. And that's something awards give you for free. And you could do, even if you don't submit the entry, just do it, just write the form, just test yourself, just have a go at answering those questions.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's really important to keep some of those wins, and especially things like testimonials and stuff like that. I keep everything that I get, any feedback, any testimonials, all those like little things that people say in the moment. A client yesterday who said something and I wrote it down because she was just like, oh my God, like I've just had this light bulb moment and this and this. And I write that down because I can forget that client had that shift in one session, and in that minute detail of something that I've said, or I have asked them a question and it's done something. And writing those things down, I think, is really, really important. And I used to do it when I was in my MOD job. We had to position ourselves for there was like a tier of bonuses every year. Obviously it's public sector, you don't really get bonuses, they're very small, but still significant. And it eventually got linked to pay rises and whether you would be in the certain bracket, and you had to kind of put yourself forward. So you didn't have the opportunity to be shy about what you could do. You had to put monetary value on it. You had to say that you had saved, or done something monetary value for the company, and you had to be really strategic about it. And I used to help the women in the teams who were not necessarily working for me but were in that team to help write theirs, because quite often they'd be like, well, I'm only part-time, I don't do this, or I didn't really do all that part. And they'd see like the senior people as the people who were leading on projects. I'm like, no, but they wouldn't have been able to do that without your part of the work. And I used to sit there and literally scrub out all the language where it was like, I've kind of done this stuff. I used to go through it all and go, no, we're not only part-time. You work a certain amount of hours irrelevant to this thing. Let's get rid of that. And I used to just take out all this stuff and like add in all the things. And then we used to have a look at how, help frame them. And it wasn't actually my job. I just used to really want to do it because I hated women just going, oh, I didn't get a pay rise. Oh, I didn't get a pay rise, and leaving it at that, because that was just awful. So I used to just kind of insert myself into these situations. But like, it's the same thing. But what I used to encourage people to do is every time you do something, just chuck it down on a Word document. Just put it in there that you move this project along by this, or you got to this milestone, or you helped deliver something. Especially like, we're not used to working in the MOD. There was a lot of like last minute, oh my gosh, this has happened, we've got to get this in, or like, we've got to spend this money by the end of the year, or there was always those last minute, really, really quick tasks. And those things were the things that weren't on your objectives, that were outside of what you were doing, and you'd forget about them. Yeah. So writing them down, and it's the same thing for business owners, to be writing down those little things that happen along the way.
Absolutely.
So that, when they come to you, they can go, oh, we've got all this stuff. How do we turn this into an awards?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have many people that have already done that work, or do you usually help them draw that out?
I usually have to help them. I think some people are organised and have, like, at least have testimonials in one place, but then don't think they always. I think it's hard to see for yourself how remarkable you are, because it's just everyday, ordinary to you, and then you have to look at it from a judge's eyes, which is what I try and help people to do. So they will tell me, oh, well, I do this, this and this, but that's just what I do. And I'll be like, no, that's amazing. And it's amazing because it has an impact. And then the impact is this. And we use then the testimonial to show what that impact is. And I think you've just summed it up perfectly, really. It's the ripple effect. When someone just makes a passing comment, really, and just, oh, thank you, I had that light bulb. What's that then gone on to do? And we do forget, because we might feel pleased for about 5 minutes and then we're on to the next task. So it is capturing those little things, because then when you're trying to explain what you do and why it's important, that little quote is like, a nugget of gold, because it's absolutely nails it. It shows the judge without any what's the word I'm looking for? Any vagueness. It shows exactly what you've done and what effect it's had. So
yeah, absolutely.
Like, hold on to and use. But it is difficult. I mean, I find it really easy to do for other people. I can't do it for myself.
I think that's universal, though, isn't it? There's so many things that we can do for other people, and like, obviously help women with their confidence and help them with their visibility. And I find it so easy. Like, I was doing it my business coach actually brought this out for me, because I didn't see that I had been doing this work since I began in the MOD when I was like 18. And I remember when I was like 24 and I got my first managerial job, and the woman working for me, we had a kind of odd relationship. She was kind of like annoyed that I was in the job, but she didn't apply for it. Mm-hmm. And actually, spending some time with her and helping her with her confidence, because she had been in that job for years. She could have easily done the job I was doing, standing on her head, but she didn't apply for it because she didn't feel like she had enough experience. And I remember going through stuff with her, and that's kind of where it began. And then I ended up doing all this stuff, but I couldn't see that for myself. It wasn't until I was talking to my business coach about how much I love really helping women see themselves as more. She was like, oh, when did that start? And then it was like she was pulling it out of me. And I think we just don't do that typically for ourselves. We always need someone else. So, whenever you see someone who is doing something, you can guarantee that they've got someone else helping them with that thing, because we can't do it for
Yeah.
ourselves.
No, it's so true.
I think that's just human nature, isn't it? Definitely. So what was the last thing there was something on my mind then I was just thinking about asking you. I think, yeah, I wanted to kind of touch on like the time frame of it, because you spoke about that a minute ago about the fact that you can apply, but it can be like 6 months, sometimes longer, before you actually go through the process. What can people do in that time? Like, do they just keep posting about it? What can they actually be doing to help them kind of pass the time but use the nomination all that time?
Okay, yeah. So there's a lot of ways, really. I mean, yeah, obviously you've got that initial I've entered and you get a nominee badge. And if you don't get one, then I always say just create a post yourself to say that you're a nominee, and you can talk about why you've entered. Then you can look at the actual entry form, and that's a key thing as well. That's a tip that I'll throw in there. Keep your entry form, save it, write it offline, save the copy, and then copy it onto the online form, because so many people don't do that. It baffles me, but so many people, again, it goes with the last minute thing, just type straight into the online form and then they submit it and it's gone. And sometimes you have you might be able to express something so well and you can't ever get that back. You just think, and so you can ask the awards organisers to send you a copy. You might be able to retrieve it that way, but it's just such a loss. So yeah, keep that copy and go back and look at it, and look at things like, could you use your introduction to share with your audience? It's just funny, like reintroducing yourself, but if you've amassed some new followers in the last couple of months, they won't necessarily know all of that about you from your intro. And then, like we said, you're pulling together your highlights, aren't you? You're using your best testimonials. You're pulling out the highlights of your last 12 months. So just use that as content. Use it on social media. Use it for your emails, your newsletter. If you want to do a long piece of work, use it for LinkedIn or a blog, and actually use some of that content, that reflection that you did. And then just engage throughout. So every time you comment on the award post, anyone else that's involved in the award is going to see you. So that could be another business owner, it could be one of the sponsors. And then if they reply or share anything that you've mentioned them in, you're getting that wider visibility. So that can be ongoing for weeks. And then when you're even as a nominee, but certainly if you're shortlisted, try and get some press out of that. People think that you need to have won for anyone to want to talk about it, but go to your local news sources, because if you've been shortlisted for a national award, they really like to share that local business owner, shortlisted for a prestigious national award. That will get shared. That gets overlooked massively, and even people who win awards don't often mention it for PR.
I know, yeah.
It's insane. So I think you can get more out of it even without winning than some winners do, because some winners just turn up, take the trophy, and never mention it again.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I think PR is a massively overlooked area. I don't think I saw many people using that for the awards we did last year at all. Maybe one or two. And I just, as soon as I saw it, I thought, yeah, you're smart. That's really smart. Obviously, we used to post the press release picture of everybody at our side, but that would be shared like where we live. But we have people coming from all over the country, so it wouldn't necessarily be seen by the right people for them. And I think, yeah, that is such an overlooked thing, because you can just write that PR thing and just send it once to many sources. I think that's another topic, I think, for another day that I might go into, because I do think we need to be using these things a lot more, especially as we're growing our businesses and stuff. They want to be able to write about something, and we're actually doing them a favor. I think we need to look at it a bit more that way. But yeah, no, I think there's a great tips to be able to use it in the meantime. I think just trying to think whether we've like really covered everything I wanted to cover, because there's so many. I could literally talk to you about this for ages, because I don't know anyone else who really kind of understands the whole inside out of the process. But what is the one thing that you would leave people with if they're sitting there thinking, oh yeah, I keep seeing other people winning awards, but like I just waiting for someone to nominate me, or I'm not really sure it's for us. What would you say to them?
I would say go for it. Throw your hat in, because if you're sitting there waiting and watching, you're letting another year go by and another round of awards go by, and you're not going to benefit from it at all. I think a lot of people are under the illusion that you have to sit and wait for someone to nominate you, and that's going to be a long wait. There are some good souls who will do that for people, but at the end of the day, you're best placed to nominate because you know your business inside out. You're going to write the best nomination if you do it yourself. So if you can get over that and you can enter, then I think we would encourage people to own it, to own that self nomination. It's a typical female trait to downplay what we've done. So even if we've plucked up the courage, and that's a huge success in itself, plucked up the courage to enter, and then rather than actually owning that moment, we then feign surprise and put a post out there that says something like, look what landed in my inbox, as if it's been, awarded by fairies or something. And it's like, that just feeds that narrative, because someone sees that and thinks, I wish someone would do that for me. And it's not true, because majority of awards are self-nominees. So yeah, let's just nip that in the bud, I think.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of people that go, oh, well then that just makes them like silly then, but it doesn't. It's because the thing is, you know your business and you know what you've done better than anyone, right? So if you're waiting for someone else to nominate you, you have to rely on the fact that they are going to, one, take the time to do it, and everybody's so busy, nobody's going to do that. But if they do it, they're likely to put you in for the wrong category. And I had so many where people were in a category that wasn't suited to what the evidence that they were giving, and actually they were suited to another category, but they were going for like the one that was maybe the safest or most obvious, but actually there were other categories that weren't as busy, that really really did reflect what they were doing. But only you know that. Like if I asked my mum to nominate me for an award, she'd still be asking me what it is I do for a living. She doesn't know. So I wouldn't want her to just be going, oh, Tamsin's great. That's not what you need. You need the detail, you need the real stuff, and only you can give that. And a lot of people will say, oh well, that just, awards are made up. They are made up. And I think that's the thing that we're not getting. We need to be honest about that. They are all made up, but even the ones which we all take seriously as a country, like OBEs and all of that stuff, people still apply for those. People are still nominated for all of the things that you see, and they were all invented at some point,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's still okay.
I mean, everything we do is made up, isn't it? Every
Yeah.
idea, every business service, yeah, it's made up, and they are made up, but they serve a really good purpose. They're really good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just always used to laugh when people say that to me, because I was like, yeah, but everything is made up. Like, but this is a good thing. This is a good way of showcasing, and I think it's a really good way of showing your customers your values and your beliefs.
Mhm.
I think it's a really perfect way for that, because I've seen that happen a lot, where people are able to really get across what they stand for through the use of an award nomination, whether they win or not,
Mhm.
because you can really tap into that. What is the reason why you are good in that category? What is the reason why that category is best suited for you? And you can use that as content. You can use that as posts. So that's a brilliant opportunity to do that. Fab. Where can everyone find you, Emma? Where do you hang out most?
Probably LinkedIn. Yeah, Emma Hewitt on LinkedIn as probably my favorite social media channel. Yeah, and yeah, I work with people one to one, and I'm also offering a new group program, which goes step by step through the framework of what I do with my one to one clients. So for anyone who doesn't know where to start, wants some help finding the right awards, working out what their own awards objectives are, writing their bank of answers, and then tips and plans on how to use all of the content like we've been talking about. That's a 6-week course that starts at the end of February.
Brilliant. That sounds so good. So it's basically everything that you do in one to one, but in a group setting.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you also get to meet other people. I think that's brilliant. What a great idea. Great. I'll put all the links to that in the show notes. So if anybody is listening to this and they want to find out more and they want to find out more about that course, they can go and click the link in the show notes. Thank you so much, Emma, for sharing all of your wisdom. I literally could go on another hour just chit-chatting about this stuff. I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.